All righty, there we go. I didn't think we were going to see each other this Monday morning. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It's great to see you. I'm doing the great changeover from one computer to the next. Yeah, I need a lot of help from the kids for this, I'll tell you. Melissa, great to see you. Good morning this Monday morning. What is it like out there for you all? We are getting the most torrential rain. It's crazy, crazy rain. I guess this is what spring is all about, right? But it's just funny because last week I was complaining about how warm it was when we were taking these long walks, and now it is like torrential downpour and so cold again. Oh well, it's still officially winter, isn't it? Cheryl, great to see you. It's rainy there on the Cape too. Oh no, nice big cup of coffee or tea there. That sounds great. I did that already. It's been a hectic morning already. Kaz, great to see you. You are snowed in. You got the snow, huh? You have about 17 inches of snow in Green Bay since yesterday. Wow, that's a lot. I saw that news story this morning about that whole part of the country getting really nailed with a serious storm. Um, Glad to see that you're on there and tucked in safe. But I'm sorry that it's another round of having to deal with that much snow. Oh, Karen, it's a beautiful morning after the snow, wind, and cold there in Black Forest, Colorado. Oh, I'm very happy to hear that. We're all getting a mixed bag. There's Rita. Howdy, Rita. How's it going there? Dave, great to see you. Rain and colder weather tonight. New bakery one block away. Oh, you're going to go investigate. Oh, isn't that fun when something new opens up? I love it when that happens. I keep noticing some places around here in our kind of new neighborhood, and I'm thinking that place is empty. I wonder if they're going to get something in there soon, because we have a couple of nice places in the center of town here. We have an old tavern called, God, what's it called? It's something so cute, like this Crown and Hammer. I think it's called the Crown and Hammer, and it's in an old boxcar. And so it's small, but it's really cute. It's the home, I think of it as the home of the $65 hamburger because once Teddy ordered something and instead of getting like a hamburger, with like bacon and mushrooms and cheese and whatever, he happened to order it a la carte. Like he said, I'll have a burger. Oh, and can I have it with this kind of cheese, these kinds of peppers, also this, and when I looked at the bill, I'm like, how is this possible? It was just me and him, and I had like a glass of wine and a chili, and the bill was crazy. And it was like the hamburger came out to $65, right? Oh, believe me, I complained and it got fixed. But the girl, I guess, didn't have the mental capacity to say, well, wait a minute, that's 90%, something like so we don't go there a lot, but we did go the other night to the dive in town. And it's kind of amazing that there is a dive because this is like, a really cute town, bit of a hippie town, but there is a proper dive. And we went in and they were playing like Strawberry Fields or something like that. And I thought, oh, good, this is good. Like this is our place. And then they immediately switched to like just, I mean, heavy metal is fine for me, right? I grew up during that time. It's fine. But it immediately switched, and people were playing pool and swearing really loud. And I thought, as much as I love swears, like like there's kids, there's kids here, right? As much as they love swears, like all things considered, appropriate, predictable, expected behavior for adults in a public place, kind of thing. And I thought, maybe not for us. We could use another place around here. We do have a nice bakery, I have to say. It's closed for the month for renovation, but yeah, when it opens, I bet it's going to be amazing. But yeah, it's fun. It's so fun to find those places, isn't it? And I like it when they're walking distance. Of course, you're in Toronto, so probably there's so many things that are walking distance. Crazy times here, crazy, crazy, crazy. So we had a busy weekend. It was a no rest for the wicked weekend for me. I was running around both days. I was running around on Saturday. I dropped Joss and Papa off in Springfield, Mass at a Pokemon convention, and I drove to the Berkshires thinking it was nearby. I mean, it's not nearby, but it's just as far as going from home. And I should have just looked at a map before I went because it was not necessary for me to go that day during that time. It created a giant triangle of driving. And as luck had it, as soon as I pulled onto the highway and passed the sign that said, no, next exit, like 36 miles, um, Joss called and said, oh, I forgot my thing that I need. And I was like, I put it into the GPS and it was like, I had literally just left her and dropped her off with Papa. And it was like, ETA was like an hour and 36 minutes. And I'm like, Yeah, I'm not going to make it there like anytime soon. My eye starts twitching just thinking about it. I felt so bad. But there was no, there was, I mean, do you have this in your life? Do you, this is Massachusetts and it's beautiful and remote when you get out to the mountains. But honestly, and I even think about when I spend a lot of time out west, like in the Dakotas, I can't even picture a sign that says like no exit for more than 30 something miles. And I talked to one of my friends who lives near there, John, who has that beautiful place where I was working on one of my books. And and I said, "You live near there. Do you always get stuck on this stretch of road where there's no exit for 30 something miles?" And he's like, "Well, no, I just do the illegal turnaround where the police hide to try to give you a ticket." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even think of that. Of course, I don't know that I would have had the nerve to do that, but I was angry enough to do it. It was so stressful, I'll tell you. But it was a good day. I drove out to the Berkshires to look at a possible place for us for the Halloween party this year. And I was really happy with it. The thing is, in the Berkshires and in so many parts of New England, everything is very village oriented. So if you if you want a place that is affordable for a party, you're typically looking at like a church or some kind of a fraternal organization hall, something like that. And if that's the case, just the sort of village structure of New England in general, it's going to be in the center of town and parking is going to be a problem. So I'm remembering that from the Red Lion the first time, and I'm remembering that from last year. I know everybody got a parking space and got in, but I know it can be stressful when you're driving around and the immediate lot is full. You're looking for street parking, you're looking for another lot, you're checking the signs. All of that is stressful. So kind of been looking for a place that is that I can afford, right? Because the tickets are like 50 something dollars. They're not like, $100. And I don't want them to be. So it has to be a place where I don't lose, like the first year I lost like $3,000 because the place cost some. Can't be that again. So it's a catch 22 because all of these public places are in village centers and then it's competitive even on a weekday. So I think I found a good one. I found a church that has a huge parking lot in front, huge parking lot behind, and two parking lots across the street, still like in the center of a town. But it was like on a Friday when church isn't in. It seems like it's going to be good. But I did spend the morning calling a couple more places just to be sure. It's all Cinderella, not Cinderella. It's all Goldilocks because it's like, yeah, we do have our own parking lot, but we don't have a room that will seat that many people. It's so funny how difficult it is to get this set. If you have any ideas, because I know people love coming to the Berkshires, and ever since Heavens to Betsy stopped doing their Halloween thing a couple years ago, I know a lot of the Halloween buddies who always went to that event just over the Berkshire line into New York, which is very close, come to this one now. So it's a lot of people who want to come, and I just feel like it has to be perfect. If you know a place in that area, one of the Berkshire towns, right, not too far out of that, because a lot of people travel and stay for like the whole week and they want to do like the fall things. It's really hard to find the right place. I feel happy with it. I do feel happy with this one and it's big enough. My only worry is do they have enough tables? I feel like they have enough tables and chairs for 60 of us. And then it's like, well, how am I supposed to put tables and chairs in my Kia Soul? I'll figure it out. But if you have any ideas and you can help, let me know. Also, did you see I put on the calendar for tomorrow? If you have any ideas about Magpie Times, you're curious about, could I do an article? Do I have something in me? What would I write it about? Or you're just thinking, oh, I do have some ideas. I don't want to do them, but I want to share them, and maybe someone else will latch on, or maybe Deanna can find somebody who already, writes for Magpie who's more comfortable writing that can do this idea for me. Um, I set up a time. We're going to do this at least monthly, and it will be a different time and a different day of the week every time so I can catch different people. It's a Zoom call that I scheduled for 4 o'clock tomorrow, which is Tuesday, March 17th. It's the St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. It's on St. Patrick's Day at 4 p.m. Yeah, tomorrow. So I figure we'll log on for however long, and if you're just listening and and hooking, and maybe once in a while you think, oh, but you know what is better than that, because sometimes our brains don't work logically, and you need someone else to say, I get what you're trying to do, but wouldn't it make more sense to do this? And then somebody else gets to go, oh, spaghetti-o, that does make a lot more sense. Thank you. So that's the reason that it's so good to brainstorm together. So if you are able to make it and you're interested, please make it. Even if you just come for company and you can bat some ideas around with me, it would be very helpful for me to get a shape on what's next for Magpie, what's next for the next issue, the upcoming issues, and projecting forward to 2027. Um, how do we want to shape it? How do we want to rework it? How do we want to make it the best that it can be? So, yeah, look for that. And negative, oh my God, tomorrow, negative, what? No, oh, Lonnie, that's you. Negative 38 wind chill. That's bonkers. The afternoon should be I guess you can't go outside or you will have your face taken off. That's crazy. When I see you in your pictures, like just like, pictures that you send in your thumbnail, man, it looks cold. It looks cold where you are. I'm going to stop complaining about the cold because it's not quite that cold here. I'm just a baby and I love to complain, I guess. All right. So, this morning, I've got the newest issue of Rug Cooking Magazine, and it really is a beauty. So interesting to see the direction that Rug Cooking Magazine has gone, the directions that it's taken over the years. Boy, I've got to dye my roots, huh? The directions it's taken over the years because it went from, what was it? It was in our crossword puzzle. It went from news and views, Rug Cooking news and views in, I want to say the late 70s, right? As a black and white sort of destined for a binder, holes punched in the side, thin periodical that you would put in, back to back in a folder yourself. Um, it went from that to being like a sort of standing on its own, still news and views, to being an early rug cooking magazine, same publication, under Joan Moshimer, right? Still under Joan Moshimer, and published by or sold by Cushing. I don't know if it was ever published by Cushing. I don't know how it was published in those early days. Of course, it doesn't make any difference because we publish differently now anyway. Um, Interesting. But all of the sort of iterations of Rug Cooking Magazine over the years, and just since I've been on the scene with Deborah Smith, right? And I did my book for her, under her just when she had one foot out the door, and she was still the editor, the long-standing editor of Rug Cooking Magazine. And then it went to Mark Ellison, I think, and he was great to work with too, but very, very different leadership. And of course, the leadership has a lot to do with what the magazine looks like. I'm going to venture to say, I don't think that necessarily the editor makes all of the decisions. I'm pretty sure that that's not the case. It's like also the publishing, right? The larger publishing umbrella that publishes more magazines than just Rug Cooking Magazine. They also do, I think, like fishing magazines and decoy magazines, like carving magazines, that kind of thing. And Rug Cooking Magazine is just one under the umbrella. So there's not a laser focus in terms of management on rug hooking. So it's curious to see because Caitlin Danko, Caitlin, right? Caitlin Danko. I mean, I've only met her 100 times and had 1,000 meetings with her. Let me just double check. She is such a sweetheart and she is so sharp, so smart. Um, and I just love the way that it's going. I love the direction. I was afraid for a while that the magazine would be. Let me see if she wrote something at the beginning. Yeah, Caitlin Danko. She's great. She's great. I worried about there being another editor at Rug Cooking Magazine that wasn't a rug hooker. But I don't feel that at all with her. I think she's super tuned in and super hungry to learn about rug cooking and about this sort of history of publication within the craft, but also she's been super, super, devoted and vigilant about learning who the people are, who the people were, who the big names have been over the years, not just now, and how work is represented and how work is put forward. And she definitely understands the difference between work that is gallery work and projects that are for beginners, and how, if the magazine is going to exist, it really needs to represent a broad spectrum of people at different abilities with different interests and different tastes. And for a while, I did think we were heading in a gallery direction where we were seeing these like literally 35-page articles within an 80-page magazine. And I was thinking, what's going on here? So, with this issue, as in with the past issues, I'm really happy to see that we're back to short articles, which is what you want because I mean, like maybe you do read every article in every magazine. I know with us at Magpie, we are more of a short, bite-sized kind of thing as well. And I don't think it's about the throwaway culture, and I don't think it's about that we have a short attention span because we play on our phones. I don't think it's about any of that. I think it's about life is busy. And unless you are sincerely, like rabidly interested in that article, you might not spend the time reading the whole article. You might just look at the pictures and the captions, maybe a sidebar, and then exit, right? Because you're busy. So that's the thing, right? For me in recent times, since the 70s or 80s, right? I think that is the thing. And I think very little of it, again, has to do with the computer. I think it has to do with culturally where we are and how we spend our days, right? And I think a lot of people now work at home. And when you work at home, it's wonderful because it's flexible, but your work is always near you. And I think when you work at home, as we have for so many years, as I think most people have for so many years, either you're retired, right? This conversation is irrelevant, or you work at home and you're always half thinking, well, I still have a little energy. I could finish that thing. And and it didn't used to be like that, right? You wouldn't drive to the office at like 9:30 on a Sunday night to like get the thing done. But when you work at home, you are likely to say, you know what, it'll be less for me to do tomorrow. I might go do that. And I think for that reason that we are so close to our work these days, ever since COVID, we are likely to just glance at stuff, take the best out of it, right? Just saturate ourselves with the most inspiring parts, maybe put some bookmarkers in or some post-it notes to return later, inspired by that piece. But I don't think it's the 70s or 80s anymore where, you're just at home, you don't have anything else, you don't have a computer to go to, you don't need to catch up with your email, you don't have work to do at home. If you're at home, you're at home, and you maybe would read the whole magazine cover to cover. But I think that's very rare nowadays, and we're really conscious of that with Magpie Times, with putting that together issue to issue. And I think Rug Cooking Magazine has become really conscious of that too, because I show Rug Cooking Magazine on the show, and then I was getting a lot of feedback in the comments, but also private emails going, thank you for reviewing the magazine, but I didn't think it was that good. And like almost like, why are you recommending the magazine? And I'm recommending the magazine because it's one of three periodicals within our craft, because we ain't quilters or knitters, right? So in terms of support and keeping the craft alive, I think it's important to support it. But I am happy to be seeing that I think we're looking at more manageable articles that have more broad appeal than some of the issues a couple of years ago. We're definitely going in the right direction. And this is no exception. Lots of quick articles about things that we know we're already interested in. I'm seeing that they dropped a lot of the long-standing articles, which I think is, oh, hey, Susan, good to see you. Linda, you're fogged in New Jersey. Fog alert. Oh my gosh. And Lonnie says the Keys and I were cross-country skiing yesterday. How fun. That is so fun. Well, that's like you're enjoying that winter weather, right? I mean, yeah, it becomes part of your life, and you look forward to it. Joss was saying we haven't gone skiing. When I say we, I don't mean me. I don't ski anymore. I would go cross country skiing, but I'm not going to go downhill skiing anymore. I'm not going to break my legs and break my butt and everything else. But yeah, we didn't this year. And we had plenty of snow. I think we had so much snow we couldn't get anywhere. That was the main problem. I'm happy that you're enjoying that beautiful weather, the winter weather. Enjoy it while you can, right? So this issue. We are seeing a loss of some of the regular departments lately that we were seeing, and we are seeing some of the same. We are seeing some of the same writers, like Lizanne Miller. It seems to always have an article, a department, which makes sense, right? Because Cushing was always affiliated with the original Joan Moshimer publication, News and Views, and then the early years of Raw Cooking Magazine. So it really makes sense that Cushing would continue to be very, very tied to it. But we are losing some of our other feature articles. I don't want to shout them out because I don't want to draw it to your attention. If you're enjoying it just the way it is, then success. But things are changing a little bit and getting shaken up. There is always an article, and I'm not saying it's good or bad. There is always a feature on Solder Village. So that shows the really close relationship between Rug Cooking Magazine and Solder Village. If you're wondering, is that relationship hardwired? It is hardwired. And it doesn't mean that Rug Cooking Magazine or Solder Village don't highlight other brands. Of course they do. But they seem to be like an in stone kind of wedded couple. You will always see a lot of information about Solder Village in Raw Cooking Magazine. It's a given. And it's a promotion. And it's not just in the months before Sauter Village, it's right through the year, looking at photos of the year before. So you can expect to find that here in that still here. We do still have room for some other interesting articles. The magazine is still coming in at 80 pages all in, and that is with a lot of advertising. So we are looking at a not huge page count, but we are looking at a lot of variety. And as usual, and in keeping with the recent issues, the variety is quite thrilling. Like it's a good issue. It is a really good issue. I want to show you some of it. I don't want to show you all of it because I imagine you subscribe to it, or maybe you're about to subscribe to it. um, it is a lot of fun to look at. And with so many short articles, you do get a little sampler, right? It's a bit of like a little charcuterie board. I'm not hungry at all, don't worry. Where you can have a little bit of each thing, right? And they're all quite tasty. So yeah, so let's look at some of the biggies, and I'll tell you what some of the other ones are. And I'm not going to show you stuff from all, but I got to say, this is my favorite issue in a long time. It's got a great cross section. I do feel like we've already seen that, but okay. But in general, there's a lot of new content here. It has less of that. I think we've already seen that for me in this issue than any recent issue for years, right? So let's come and look at, Susan says, flipping through these issues, I find them to be far more instructional, many pattern, color planning, teaching, more than sharing what we're working on. Absolutely. That's a great observation. I'm not even sure that there is a pattern in these issues anymore. I'm not seeing a pattern. So that's gone. It seems to me like Rug Cooking Magazine is really promoting their online magazine. What does that mean? I don't know. I do have a lot of meetings with them, but I don't know why there's this sort of push. There's a push to do everything online right now, but there seems to be a real push to get people online. And I don't have the time, honestly, to look at other people's magazines. I'm busy looking at our group of almost 28,000 people in rug cooking, and I hardly ever get to make comments in the YouTube channel because there's so many comments on every video. That would be my whole day if that's what I did. Forget about children, forget about work, forget about orders, forget about writing anything for magazines or books. So, yeah. Um, Sorry, I was going to say something and it's gone. Hold on. Yeah, so there might be patterns online that I'm just not aware of. Does anybody happen to know? Has anybody really explored the online version of the magazine? And is there more content there than there is printed here? I'm so curious. I would love to figure that out, actually. I could just call Caitlin and ask her too, but I'm curious. So, yeah, there is an emphasis on the technical. This issue has a little bit more on what's going on with different people, but remember that in terms of periodicals, Atha is the one that does what's going on with people. Like Rug Hooking Magazine has kind of taken the role of, what are you working on now? Let's see it. That's nice. Let's see it. Maybe someone else wants to do something similar, but not sharing the pattern. Just this is what I've been working on. Oh, that's super inspirational. Whereas Atha is the periodical that the whole magazine is like, what's going on in your group? What challenges have you got going right now? Let me see the rugs you made for your last challenge. Atha is more that, and rug cooking doesn't do that. And I think they're quite right to not do that because, oh, yeah, pattern. Thank you so much. There is a pattern. There is a pattern on 74. Thank you so much. Well done. I flipped right by that. Okay, that's part of Lizanne's thing, right? So there is a pattern here. Thank you. Do you remember when there used to be a paper pattern that opened up like a map, right? Do you remember maps? Do you, I loved that so much. And even for Magpie, I cannot figure out how to get something like that into the magazine. I certainly couldn't have it done the way that I'm doing it and have it be printed in different countries and ship locally without a huge shipping charge. I mean, I'm thinking like, could I do that for US ones? But I have never been able to figure it out. Does anybody know the answer to that? Because I know it's old fashioned and whatever, but I loved that. Like it looked like a sewing pattern, like in the middle of the magazine. And you would just take it out. Maybe you put it in a folder with your other stuff or one of those magazine boxes, but it was just fun to have the physical patterns like at the right size. It was just super 1980s fun in my mind. You loved that too. There was just something about it, the tactile quality of opening it up like a map and going, ooh, ooh. It was fun. It was different, and it's so nostalgic. And with printing what it is now, why is it so difficult? I've asked so many different printers, do you do that? And they don't even understand what I'm asking. Like they can't even. Everybody's so young, they can't even picture that. Like it's like a sewing pattern, but it's not made out of Kleenex. Like it's thicker, paper. Anyway, I'm not done trying to investigate that. We'll go further with that. But I think Susan's onto something. I think she's got a great point. That rug hooking magazine seems to be, I wouldn't say it's moving in the direction of gallery, right? Thank God, because I don't think that's for everyone. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. But I do think it's a more technical magazine. It's certainly more technical than Magpie or um, Atha. Magpie does have some technical stuff, but yeah, the sort of backbone of rug hooking is this is the technique I used. This is what I'm doing. So, and it has some really extraordinary pieces in it that in this issue seem to be more, it's just more cohesive. Sometimes I feel like when I'm flipping through, and the reason it makes me feel like it's more of a gallery thing is because it's like, oh God, this is a beautiful rug. And then it's like, all right. And then there's like just the one page on it. And then there's another rug and it looks like, you know, uh, different subject, different maker, different, location. And I'm like, so what's the commonality between these 10 pages? Or like, what's the theme? Because you know how they ask for a theme every month. Do they still do that? Actually, let me check the back and see if they still do that. Because sometimes I can't detect a theme. This time I feel like I can. Let me just see if they wrote like this is what we, I'm not seeing it in the back. It might be that it's in the pages somewhere. Oh, you know what? Hang on, hang on, hang on. Okay, there's another pattern I'll show you when we get closer. It's for a crown, like to wear on your head. Also interesting, Kanga, great to see you. Good morning, friend. Glad to catch up with you too. Dave said, I like the English crafting magazines wrapped in, oh God, don't get me started, wrapped in plastic. They always have mini kits and patterns, etc. However, because they're an import, they're super expensive. Yeah, I remember that. And I mean, they're in Europe too. And of course, I was in Europe for years. They're still expensive there. Like I mean, I guess here, all magazines are expensive. You want Somerset Studio. How much does that cost these days? Like $18 or something? My mom subscribes to a magazine that costs like over $30 an issue. And yeah, I think Magpie is getting up there at 20 something. But come on, we always have like a ton of patterns in there. And you can't divide the value of the magazine by the patterns because you don't know if anybody likes any of the patterns. But I feel you have got to have some freebies that you can afford to put in. But Dave, I totally agree with you. I think the first ever issue of Magpie when we were printing it locally and it cost I like hemorrhaged money. Like I was in the negative and I had to borrow money after that issue. It cost so much money to print it that way. And then Judy and I put together in these little vellum envelopes. Sorry, I'm still showing you the fisherman in these little vellum envelopes because I think in that issue Judy didn't put the patterns in. She forgot to put the patterns in. So that was really a last minute stressor. And I think we printed them out and I put them in a vellum envelope and I tucked it in and it was like a little gift. And I thought, ooh, let's do a little gift in every issue. But then with the way that it needs to be printed, it just can't be done. And it is disappointing. It could be done. It would just be more expensive. But I so agree with you. I would, uh-oh. Uh-oh, you did it. You did it. You did it. I was just thinking, what if like once a year I did a magpie that was like an optional, came in a wrapped bag with like some stuff, like some mini skeins or an Amish toothbrush, something. It came with something. That would be really fun. And maybe it shouldn't be the holiday issue because everybody's like, if you're a Christmas person, sorry to be offensive if you're not, but if you do any kind of exchange or anything at, around the holidays, maybe you're already being like buried in gifties around that time. Maybe like for the middle of the year or maybe for I was going to say maybe for the spring issue because that's like the toughest time of year. But maybe it would be fun to offer that for like the fall issue, right? Fall and like yarn. That could be really fun. I could offer it as a different product that's like the magazine that comes with it. And of course it would cost a fortune to ship and it would only ship from the US, which is a bummer. But it could be fun to do that. Could be really fun to do that. Okay, sorry, I'm stopping. Moving on. July. I mean, yeah. I mean, really, like I could do that more than one. Could I do that more than one? If I had help, like if I had the kids help me, which I bet they would be paid. That could happen. Ooh, I like that. Christmas in July. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I love that. And then what if, again, I know not everybody celebrates Christmas, right? And yeah. Um, so yeah, but like with a winter theme, right? Not necessarily like a full blasto Christmassy theme. But I really like that. And I wonder if in July there could be like, I don't know, like a little mini section with like cookies recipe or a really cool like holiday pattern for people who like to start 6 months ahead of time and like a little gifty in that one. That could be super, super, super fun. I really like that. Oh, I really like that. Let's brainstorm on that tomorrow during the magpie thing. Let's talk about that. That would be super fun, Christmas in July. Because I always in July, it's a real thing. I always start thinking about cold weather for obvious reasons, and how nice it is when I can start listening to my songs again and the Hallmark Channel, and it's the right time to watch those movies and all of that. That's a really good idea. Thank you for that. See, we're brainstorming by accident already. Let's come back over here and check out this piece because again, the I didn't find the themes for Raw Cooking Magazine, but I gotta say the whole beginning of the magazine, it does have a springtime, most of it has a springtime theme for me until we get to the article called Silence of the Snow, which is also themed, right? We're catching like the end of winter. So let's start here. I feel like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like this issue, for the time of year, me looking outside and seeing snowdrops coming up and crocuses, but also yesterday when I was in the Berkshires, it snowed a little bit, right? So we're getting that cross of seasons. I feel like this issue for this moment, this time of year, winter going into spring, really hits in the right place in terms of how you would be feeling at this time of the year. I don't personally like to see stuff that is not seasonal at a different time of year. I personally don't like to see it because I'm just not there. But this issue is really good for getting you excited about where we are right now, the small wonders of where we are right now. Susan says, my husband is a printer. I was just asking him about the pattern insert. He has answers. Tell Mark I'm going to reach out and find out some stuff. Let's definitely talk later. That would be so fun to figure this out. Susan, I didn't know that. I would have been bugging him all along. This piece is called A River Runs Through It. It is 15 by 24, number 4 to number 6 cut wool on monk's cloth, adapted from a movie still, right? You remember this great movie. And hooked by Linda Lacasse of Warner, New Hampshire in 2024. And this section is under the awards, the awards plural go to Celebration 35 Reader's Choice winners. So, River Runs Through It by Linda Lacasse. This is one of the winners. This is the number one winner. This has the red number one ribbon. And I'll just read the beginning of the article for you. Linda says, I usually create my own designs. However, I was drawn to this photograph from the movie, A River Runs Through It, and with permission, I adapted it to a rug hooking pattern. In making this piece, I used many spot dyed pieces of wool because I thought it would be best to show the values and colors of the landscape. I used a bit of sari silk, Sari, and wool roving on the water to give it more movement. After many attempts with different materials, I settled on couching a piece of cotton twine as the fishing line. Can you see that? That thin, thin strip is couched, meaning it's a single piece of standing wool, meaning that the flat end of it is sewn onto the monk's cloth and the loops are hooked around it and right up to it. So they're helping it stand in place. You get this razor thin line. I'm not going to read the whole article, but beautiful technique. And you can see even under the fisherman's arm, you're seeing it sort of resolve like the fishing line. It's a beautiful, beautiful image, and I can see why Linda was interested in this. She was able to do a lot of really stunning impressionist work in the background. Don't you love how she signed her initials LL in the water on the left hand side? It's so subtle. but they're there, which is so important, but it's so subtle. Don't you love the blending of colored, some spot dyed wools, as she says? Really strong color shifts here, right? We're seeing lots of movement in the water, in the rock, in the figure, in the greenery. In that, the unifying motif is that line, that standing wool line that runs right up the composition, and it's a tall composition, which is rare to see, right? Really interesting. Karen says having a pattern with a holiday day theme that you can start in July would be nice. Yeah, I'm pretty set on that idea now. I think that's a pretty good idea. Thank you. Thank you for leading me there, you all. It was indirect, but it was really a great spark. I'm going to write that down. Sorry, I don't know why I didn't stretch these larger. I guess I was in a hurry this morning while I was fighting with Jocelyn's school as usual. So let me show you this piece. There are many pieces. Oops, there are many pieces in between that are very good. The number two piece is there for you to see. The number three piece is there for you to see. So they've got celebration winners, number one, two, and three here at the beginning, and they are all beautiful. Now I'm a little bit out of order. This piece is a little bit further along. This is called Purple Haze, and I think this is part of the gallery section. I'm not sure. Yeah, so right here, let me see how the magazine kind of defines this section. Um, I don't know if these are still, maybe these are still winners or maybe these were still in celebration. It doesn't say we just shift from stuff to ribbons with stuff that it like stands alone. So you can figure that out when you get it, what the relationship is, or if these are if this is just a gallery section. So this is a unusual piece and it's called um, Diane, that's a great question. I was thinking the same thing. Who do you ask permission for in adapting movie stills? I've wondered how to do that. I don't know the answer to that. And it's funny that you say that because I was thinking the same thing. Like, wasn't this like a Robert Redford movie? Was this a Robert Redford movie? Um, I would never know who to ask, and I would never expect to get an answer. But it could be that Linda knows somebody or just was lucky, found the right person. I don't know. I know that when I ask permission for stuff, because sometimes people send stuff into Magpie and they don't realize they need permission, but I do. So I'll like write to a museum or I'll write somewhere, and the chance of getting a response is very, very slim, and I can't use the content if I can't get the response. Or sometimes I sit on the content and then I will put it out in a later issue because the person takes 9 months to write, and with no sort of preface of like, oh, I'm sorry, it took me 9 months to write. You could have had a child in this time, and yet here's the response. So I don't know. I find it very difficult to get responses. I sometimes find it difficult to get responses from auction houses too. And I really can't understand that because come on, come on. Sometimes like there's a rug or something that I want to use for Magpie or for a book, and I just want permission to use the image. And it's a local auction house. It's like, don't make me drive over there. I am so bad when you get me in person and I'm angry. Like I hate it about myself, but I will be off my chain, right? Just answer. It's so hard to get answers from people. So I don't know. But it might be worth writing to Linda and saying, like, can this happen? It can also be if you're not doing something that is so direct, that was exactly like the movie poster. But if you were doing something that was just the same sort of idea, that's an idea is not under copyright. It's only the image that's under copyright. So if you get far enough away from the image, then you're okay, particularly if you're not trying to sell the pattern piece, right? Um, I mean, best practice, obviously, best foot forward, but it's always tough. That's always tough. It's super, super frustrating. So, oh, sorry, back over here. So this piece is by Carrie Kolb, and Carrie Kolb is in Bolton, Connecticut. I know where that is. Um, this is called Purple Haze, 34 by 54, number four, and various widths of hand cut wool. Yay. That was me adding yay on linen. Absolutely beautiful piece. I'm taking pictures of a magazine here, so my pictures aren't great. But if you're thinking, are there some quillies in there? To be honest, it's really hard to tell. I think maybe there's some quillies in there, but I think a lot of the stuff that looks like squished quillies is I like that squished quillies. Ooh, maybe that could be an article for Magpie. Put together a bunch of squished quilly tongue twister pieces. I mean, I just love the way this looks, but I think a lot of these are hooked. I think a few of them are maybe quillies, but it looks like a lot of them are hooked. The ones that are really round, if you look on the far right, I'll stretch it out a little bit, but it's not a great image photo of a photo. Hold on one second. Let me just stretch it a little bit for you. See on the far right there, north and the left, you're seeing some three-dimensional quillies. Those are definitely quillies. But I think a lot of the circles are just hooked, squished quillies. Really pretty piece, isn't it? Very evocative piece. It's a very sort of complicated piece. It has to me sort of a feel of a universe kind of thing, like the Milky Way kind of something between the Milky Way and Stranger Things. You know what I mean? Because there's like all this complexity of form where we're seeing all of these small shapes. Reminds me also of those English licorices, the all sorts. You know the ones I mean? They're like circles with a little black circle in the middle. How delicious are those? Some of them are squares and they're layered like little sandwiches. It also reminds me of that. Like if um what was his name, the bad guy in Stranger Things, Vex Ventra Vex something. But for example, if his disgusting body, like skin, was made of licorice all sorts, it would look like this kind of a thing. It's such a cool and evocative piece color wise, and the whole universe of small pieces that they've got in here, like small forms they've got in here, with the color shifts in the background from purples to indigos to like lighter colors, does make me think of like nebulas and things that happen in the sky, right? So, really cool piece by Carrie Kolb. Very unusual, very artistic, contemporary, but to me, eternal. These kinds of pieces are eternal. Very, very interesting, very engaging, and fairly complex in terms of technical prowess. Well done on that. Just making this a little bit bigger for you. This is a Grace Collette piece. You know, whenever there's a Grace Collette piece, I adore her so much. I have to show it. All of her pieces are so riveting to me. She has such a style, and this isn't, in my mind, her. This reminds me of some of her stuff, like the kids at the amusement park. Just the forms, like the gentle forms. They have kind of a maybe a sort of Japanese feel. I don't know why, right? Maybe the shapes of the trees and the roundness of the landscape. I know this is a snowy landscape, but I think if I had to guess whose piece this was, I would say Grace Collette, but I wouldn't say it is exactly her usual style that we're used to seeing. She does so much stuff with trapunto and Waldeboro and adding beads and bling and applique, and she's got so many tricks in her basket of tricks. This is a more straightforward piece, although you see those little tiny beads of snow. Well, those are beads, so those have been sewn on. Oh, Diane, that last one looked like marbled paper. Carrie's, it totally did look like marbled paper, like when you pull it right out of the water and it's got all those stretched circles. That is a great thought. If that was my piece, I think I would call it marbled paper after you told me that, of course, because I didn't think of it on my own. Those are actually little beads that you're looking at. And that's another, she loves bling. That's another Grace Collette trick. And, because when you look at it, it's like, wow, are those ever tiny and perfect? None of them are like misshapen. Well, it's because they're glass beads, pearl and glass beads. She's also got some other stuff in here. She says, this is 24 by 20, number three cut wool, novelty yarns, tie tacks. Oh, oh, oh. Okay, you see on the top left. Okay, let's stretch this sucker. I see one over here. Hang on. And sorry, taking you for a ride. Come on, you stinker. You see on the left over there, there's like a kind of little Cupid figure, or maybe a little, I don't know, huntsman or something. Oh, I see him. I see him. You see him on the left, and he's got his bow. And then you see the deer standing there, kind of not being very bright, to the right of him, tucked under the trees. I think those are the tie tacks. There may be more in there that my eyes just. Oh, you know what? I think there are more. I love it how she takes you for a ride and lets you travel with your eyes. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm seeing some stars down at the bottom. Those might be tie tacks too. Man, is the rain coming down. Crazy. Um, This is just a gorgeous piece. So lots of novelty fabrics. This is called In the Silence of the Snow, again by Grace Collette of Raymond, New Hampshire, 2024. She's just unreal. I might have seen her working on this piece actually. I saw her quite a few times in 2024. Just a gorgeous piece. She's such a master. She's so clever with color. This has got obviously a real winter vibe, but there's something so, I'm going to make it smaller again. There's something so cozy, really charming about this piece, the reflection on the water. There's, despite it being a winter scene, right? Everything is still covered with snow. It looks like the water is moving. It's not frozen anymore. That bright light in the sky gives like such a sense of hope. It's exactly the kind of image that you want to look at right now, particularly if you're looking at 17 inches of snow again, right? Beautiful piece. Let me see what I've got in here next. Oh, this is another gorgeous one. Sorry, I thought I had stretched all these. I think when I went from computer to computer, they everything moved. Because look at my ribbon candy's in the wrong place. That's so strange. Oh my God, you know what? Because I put this together on the old computer. You know what? I bet that my screen on the old computer somehow is different than this one, even though it's the same program. It has to be because everything is a different size. Well, at least it's working, right? So this is a great one too. Suzanne Flint. This is Totality, All Eyes on the Sky. And this refers to the eclipse a couple of years ago. So, done by, again, Suzanne Flint. This is 27 and 3/4 by 35 and a half, number 3 to number 7 cut, hand dyed and spot wool on linen, designed and hooked by Suzanne Flint of Dummerston, Vermont, 2024. And yes, do you remember that eclipse? God, I remember being online because there was so much in the news about it. I was so nervous about it. I was so afraid the kids, it was exactly when the kids came out of school. I was so afraid they were going to be as tempted as I was to look at the eclipse without glasses on because that's the kind of idiot that I am and I didn't. But it in my head, it's like, God, that's tempting. I mean, as soon as you're told not to do something, and I'm like a child, so. But the kids had their eclipse glasses. I went crazy buying eclipse glasses. Everything was sold out. It was like the end of the world was coming instead of an eclipse. And then when it happened, like we didn't even see anything. But I remember in Vermont they did, and I remember the news saying that there was stopped traffic if you were trying to get to Vermont at the last minute because you decided it was important for you to see the full eclipse, the total eclipse. Um, then the roads were all blocked, right? Because everyone had the same thought. And I thought, dang it, I wish I would have planned this ahead of time. And I hope that there's another chance in my lifetime because this must have been amazing. You see it on the news, but it's not the same thing, is it? And so I really feel that for textile art, for rug hooking, I mean, not just for rug hooking, but it's remarkable how well that the light in this rug covers that moment, right? The conversation in that moment, everybody there, you can tell people are have their glasses on, right? Because you can tell that their arms are all up, and the deep shadows, the weird sky, it was just weird even where I was. Such a beautiful piece. Just the way that it looks like the ground is slipping, like the ocean is pulling because of the weird shadows, right? It's just it has an eeriness to it, and it's a great sort of it's a great example of documenting that one split moment, right? That moment in time. Did you notice that this piece is framed with quilt fabric? I think that is very, very well done. And of course, you could always do that and add like the thinnest sort of felt like the little thin felty kind of padding if you want to do something like this, just so your quilt fabric meets the height of your loops, if that's important to you. Absolutely beautiful piece by Suzanne Flint. There's a great feature in here. So we're looking at a lot of one-offs. And one of the one-offs, wait, I should show you this, is the Loon Song at Sunset by Nancy Qualls, uh, Qualls. Loon Sunset at, sorry, Loon Song at Sunset. I want to show you, it's the cover image. I want to show you the whole image. Um, because in the whole image, there's a lot more techniques. I think this is hooking, like the little dock. This is yarn. You see that in the water? That's like crazy yarn. I'm seeing if we can come into focus. Yep. There's some hooking with like loose kind of roving material. There's some felting. The stones are felted. So this is like, I mean, this is color wise. Oh my God. This is a great piece. This is a more than great piece. This is a like this is an incredible piece. It reminds me of amazing colors, right, Kaz? Like of a Tiffany window. Like really, right? I mean, these colors are crazy. It's so well done. You want to look at this one in person, and yeah, it's beautiful on the cover. It is a gorgeous cover, but it's nice in the whole composition too. S- During this section, you're seeing like one after another after another. They're all beauties. And then we put this article that I really love. I'm a little bit out of order here. Hold on. Um, Sorry, I don't know how. I don't know how, but I am. Let me find the dogs. Okay, this article is by Jeanette Cyr, Cyr, and it's called Lassiloops, one word. And just as an intro, it says, in 2020, the world shut down, and like many others, I found myself overwhelmed with solitude, time, and worry. The pandemic changed everything around us, and little would ever be the same again for me. At first, it felt insurmountable. I mourned all that I lost. In my search for ways to cope, adjust, and rebuild, I explored different hobbies. So she goes on to talk about these different hobbies. And of course, rug hooking is one of them. I'm completely paraphrasing because it's a beautiful article that spans, I want to say 8 pages, 10 pages. In this case, it's worth all 10 pages. She's showing you some dogs that she's hooked. Just going to make this a little bit bigger too. And you can see how well done these dogs are. Now, sometimes we see dogs and they're super realistic. Sometimes we see dogs and they're really cartoony. Sometimes we see dogs that are kind of right in between. These dogs are really different for me. I feel like there's something about her style, Jeanette's style, that like she's such a good artist. She's such a good designer. She's keeping the background simple with all, I'm just going to flash you the article, right? This is just one spread in the article. She's keeping the backgrounds fairly simple. Lots of interesting hooking, directional hooking. But the thing is the dog, right? The thing is the motif, the dog itself, and the personality of the dog. And for me, that's the thing about Jeanette's dogs is even though they're different breeds, you're really getting the real personality of the dog, right? This one had a Mackie. That one had a cute name. Little old Mackie, huh? And yeah, I feel like she's really showing us the personality. They're done in a more graphic way, but they're not cartoony. So I was trying to figure out Cypress. This one is Cypress. Really cute. But I love this article and I love seeing these dogs. There's quite a few of them in the article, and she's showing you her drawing them and working from photographs, and her brand is Lassiloops. So this is specifically her kind of niche. It's a beautiful article that showcases real specific thing, which is hooking these beautiful dogs. And I think you'll enjoy looking at the personalities of these dogs as well. Now, this is the article on solder, right? We inevitably get to the article on solder. So even though solder is in August, this is the Hey, solder's coming article. And it's not a full article. Let me find it. Here it is 30 years of rug hooking week at solder. So it's advertising. It's 3 page of advertising for solder. And the thing that I liked seeing in this one, this is a bad photo because, sorry, I'm still learning how to use my new phone, but I quite liked this one. I know that it was taken last year because the caption said, a view down the aisle toward last year's Celebrations 35 exhibit. I'm sure some of them are from 35, but I see my two here, right? I put these two in. This is the cover of Magpie Times, that Secret Garden. And right there is one that's coming out in the Rose Book, Poet's Wife. Probably they're completely out of focus, but I know that those are mine and I know they were there this past year. So I got kind of excited when I saw that. The Celebration Aisle and then some other good ones. That was kind of fun to find. Got very, very excited. So stupidly, right? It's a very small reference, but nonetheless exciting. So, also in this article, in this issue, is, and we've looked at this a lot, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. We just passed International Rug Cooking Day, and of course, this was Katie Gallagher's design for International Rug Cooking Day, Connection. That was the name of the design. And you remember on the eve of International Rug Cooking Day, I hosted an event with Rebecca White Martin, my good friend. And she was working on both this pattern, Cody Gallagher's pattern that was for Oxford, who officially host the day, or they initiated the day, International Punch Needle Day. But Rebecca was also working on the Tigger pattern, which is one that I designed. So you saw both of those patterns in that issue, and we were told that Cody had created an example where she stitched a few together. So we are seeing that for the first time in Rug Cooking Magazine, and we are seeing a how-to article on punch, because it seems to me like in all of these current issues of Rug Cooking Magazine, we are seeing a punch feature. And I think that's very inclusive, and I think that's very, very welcome. There was a long time that we did not see punch mixing with rug hooking. Nary the two shall meet. And luckily, we're past that foolishness. I still think they're very, very different. I still think they're apples and oranges. I don't personally think they're entirely interchangeable, but I think they're close enough that we should talk about anything that we can do in terms of like hand making rugs, right? To keep all of these forms alive. This is another one from the gallery that I had out of order by Kathy Atherton called I See You Too. And obviously it's an owl up in a tree, 15.5 by 20, number 2 to number 5 cut, hand dyed, natural and herringbone wool, recycled found wool roving, embroidery thread. You can see that in the moss on the tree, yarn, and wire on linen. Lots of different techniques here. My God. And Kathy Atherton is from Victoria, British Columbia, and this was made in 2024. So each of these spectacular pieces, and this is spectacular. You see the amount of proddy on that tree too? To make it a little bit bigger, but remember it's a photo of a photo. All of these gallery pieces that were chosen, and again, I'm not sure if they're all part of celebration or what, but there are some spectacular examples. You see that little furry chest too? That could be anything, right? That could be the novelty yarn. It could be the embroidery thread that's like fluffed out. It could be anything. I would love to see this piece in person, right? Because there's so much going on here in terms of technique. Absolutely gorgeous, Kathy Atherton. Um, you are a master. This is just an unbelievable piece. Oop, wait a minute. I clicked it. Wait a minute. I just wanted to go down here. Yeah, we're seeing more of the fluff. And look at that background. It really mimics the feathers on an owl, doesn't it? And incredibly, most of this composition is neutral and browns, but somehow it's super striking and there's no contrast or tonal problems in here at all. The Prati is also in the three-dimensional embroidery floss is also really under control in my mind. I cannot stand seeing for myself. I'm not a fan of when Prati doesn't have a context. I'm not a fan of that. If it's like leaves on flowers, that makes sense. If it's moss on a tree, that makes sense. If it's abstract, that can make sense. But sometimes it's just out of context, and my brain goes, what? What's coming at me? But this for me is an excellent use of Prati because it's very low to the surface too. It's almost like uber realism because when you see a really mossy tree, it seems like it's standing out about this much. It's really interesting to see that fine the wool strips cut to Prati, just like a clippy of different heights. It's a great idea. It's a great technique. It's a truly amazing piece. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, let's see what else we got going. Oh, this was a really cool article. Okay, hold on. Let me bring you to the beginning of this article. This was a really cool article that refers to a book that's coming out that I have not seen yet, but I'm going to look it up as soon as we're off. I don't want to forget about it. I call I called this article in my I call these slides in the slideshow the flat Stanleys because they're all like characters, but they're flat. Remember Flat Stanley that like slid under the door in the children's book? So this is tiny over here, but this article refers to this book that obviously Rug Cooking Magazine is publishing or has published called Hooked Chair Rugs, right? So this is an excerpt taken from Hooked Chair Rugs by Annie Kennedy. And it's just a gorgeous this is like text, right? So I just want to show you what the chair rugs look like. It's a very cool idea because we know bed rugs, we know floor rugs, we know rugs for the wall, but this is really getting into a very clever niche, and it's pretty obvious. I'm really surprised we haven't seen this yet. Draping a rug over a chair, because I've seen people do it, but I've never heard them referred to as chair rugs. Annie is taking it even a step further. I mean, she's showing us chair rugs like this, and I feel like we've seen these and loved them. Um, but chair rugs for all kinds of chairs, right? They are backed and they do have structure, but they are these flat pieces that are either being used for chairs or in this case for like dummy boards, right? You see there's like a cut dummy board on the back of them. So these are standing, obviously. And then we have, hold on, let me come back to you here. um, Other options like for a table runner on the bed, right? Like in the guest room, another like runner on the bed. I think it's just cool because they're character driven, right? These are all characters. So to find them sometimes laying on a bed or sometimes sitting up in a chair, I think it's just a cool idea. I'm very keen to get that book. It in my mind is like, okay, so if you truly have, I'm thinking about Donna over at Whispering Hill rug hooking, needlecrafts and rug hooking in Woodstock, Connecticut. You know, she has used every square inch of the floor, of the walls, of the benches, of everything upstairs and downstairs. And then she started doing bell pulls, like for the space that's left. I don't know what she can do now. Like she is full. She is full. So for those moments, it makes me think, a chair, another surface, right? It's just, it's funny. It's funny. It's a funny idea. And it's so friendly thinking about characters sitting around on chairs. It's super humorous and it's just fun. It's a fun project. And it's like it has a bit of a country feel for me, just the idea of having someone sitting over there wearing a red hat, this character on the chair. I like it. I think it's fun and funny and it's something different. So really fun article and let's look for that book. I definitely want to look at that book. There's another, and I think this is the last one I'm showing you from this article. There's lots of other great articles in this book. There's a short article toward the end that's called A May Queen Crown. Now, I'm showing you this picture because I just did a May Queen thing for the rose book. It's a rose called, guess what? The May Queen. And I did a design that is very different. It was a full blast British May Queen from the days of yore. She's like encased, I want to say entombed in a cape. These are May Queens from British Columbia in 1887. And these are regular pretty girls, pretty little girls wearing dresses. And one of them will be the May Queen. I think it's the one in the middle with the crown on, right? So this is a nice reference to that, centuries old tradition, right? Sort of pagan tradition. Used to be a bit more bawdy in England back in the day, but choosing one girl to be the May Queen, and she would wear whatever the regalia for that village was, respectively. And of course, tradition a little bit different in Canada, still very British in intention, but celebrating one May Queen, like one special girl. So this article very cleverly creates a crown pattern that I mentioned earlier. Let me fix this again. I guess I'm going to start putting my slides into the new computer. It's easier on the old computer for boring technical reasons that not worth describing, but I think I'm going to put them there because now we know that we got a size difference, and it's great to be able to have larger pictures for me while we're doing this show. This is an adorable girl. I'm sorry, this article is by Una Walker. And this is Una's granddaughter, and she is modeling her May Queen crown. So you see how this works. It's a Prati crown. It's got some cute little quillies in there. There is some hooking with yarn happening in there. This is another how-to article, right? So technical, to your point, Suzanne, another technical article, but very, very cute. And this is a flat piece that it doesn't go all the way around, right? It's not sized. It ties on um, with ribbons like that. And this was the other thing that had the pattern, right? So, like something like this to go around like a like a Burger King crown. Sorry. You know how classy I am, like a Burger King crown, but not all the way around with pretty ribbons in there. So this is a great how-to article and even showing you some Prati pieces that you could use, for the flowers on this crown. It's a beautiful issue, and there were lots more articles. I just want to tell you about one more, then I really got to go finish fighting with the school. What was it? There's a lot that I didn't cover, but uh, Rows of Fun, The Friendship Rug Project by Claire Scarborough and Luann Curry is one of it's like a 10-page article. It is so, so good. And I want to show you just roughly what it's like. It was a friendship rug project among this guild. I think yeah, it's a McGowan Guild in Pittsburgh. And I haven't had time to read the article yet, but you will see page after page of many of these beautiful rugs that came out of this sort of row by row project. Remember, I was talking about on one of these coffee times recently, row by row quilts. I used to love those because when I was busy, I didn't know, when I was a quilter before I was a rug cooker, I didn't know when I would be done, just done. And I'd want to end the quilt. And I loved the row by row quilts because you could be like, okay, that's enough. And same thing with hooking, right? They can go really, really tall, or you can cut them shorter or whatever. Love the idea of doing row by row. It's a great thing for bees, for hooking bees too, because people could come in and just hook a row. So that's a very cool article too. That's, I think, the longest article, but it's a really good article because it's so well illustrating. You're seeing lots of examples of these like row by row rugs, friendship rugs. Really, really good. It's a fantastic issue. So this issue, Rug Hooking Magazine, this is March, April, May. So it covers the three, um, yeah, and then there'll be June, excuse me, June, July, August. I wonder how many they're putting out now. I thought they only did one 3-month thing later in the summer. I wonder how many issues they're doing in total now. I haven't been paying good enough attention. Beautiful issue, right? This is really a beautiful issue. Maybe it's still at your local bookstore. Um, but in any case, for me, Rug Cooking Magazine's going in the right direction. I'm really enjoying it. And when I do have a little bit of time, I will look at their online version of the magazine and see what they've got going on there. But this really is a beautiful issue. I hope that you have it, and I hope that you're enjoying it. They look like my knitted socks, so neat. Yeah, it is. It's something different yet again, you know. I could see, I mean, obviously Jocelyn's not going to wear one of those. She's like, she's too cool for that. She's going to wear her masks, but she's not going to wear like a crown that I make her. Although she's been absolutely awesome. I'm struggling with the school because she's had so many health problems between like her heart stuff and which is, it seems like it's fine. She's got a massive anxiety problem, which manifests as like these heart things, but also incredible migraines. I mean, she had both days this weekend. It's starting in the afternoon, these unmanageable migraines where she just can't get out of bed and she can't turn the light on. And when she has these, like on school days, I'm sorry, I'm not sending her to school. I'm sorry. I'm like, if she has a migraine and she feels like the light can't go on without making her cry, and she's got all the aspirin she should have, sorry, I'm not sending her. Like, I'm just not sending her. If we're going to get in trouble with absentee stuff, I'm just going to take her out of school and homeschool her because she's a gifted student and she's got like high A's in every subject, and she's one out of 6 gifted kids in her whole school. So I'm done fighting with the school. Sorry, I'm just venting. I'm done fighting with the school. If we cannot come up, I feel like, and I've probably said this before, but because I have young kids still, right? And Teddy has, autism, so he's got a lot of, you know, concessions made for him at school. And, so that he has arrangements made, but the doctors have always thought that Joss was also autistic, but we've been waiting for 2 years for her assessment, and they still say it'll probably be a year and a half before we get it. So we don't have the paperwork on that. We're very lucky that they told us at this school that she is a gifted student because that puts her into the special needs category. She needs extra work. So it's kind of the opposite. But nonetheless, I just feel like there has not been a school reform, at least in this country, since I was a kid. We still do the same thing. Like we're still functioning like, even past COVID, we're still functioning like, hey, school's a good babysitter. Like let's drop the kids off at school and let's let the school raise them, and I guess I'll see them, when they get out of college, And it's like, they're at school for such a huge chunk of the day. There's all this pressure to stay after school for sports or for clubs. And the kids are like, when do I get to be at home and be bored? Like it's not much of the year. And of course, the school year is much longer than it was when I was growing up. And I just feel like, as I've been super vocal about this in our new place, and I'm probably making some enemies fast, but I just feel like if your child has high grades, for example, all A pluses, right? And both of my kids are like all A students, right? I'm very lucky that they're smart. But if your kids are getting good grades, I'm not talking about kids who are flunking or are struggling with like D's or even C's, but if your kids are getting really good grades and the parents say, we want to do stuff as parents, I want to take them to Philadelphia during the week, right? Because I can't afford to take them on the weekend when the hotels are twice as expensive. If I want to do special things like that with them, that's why I had them. Like I want to do some of their education too. That's why I think it's time for, educational reform. It's not going to happen, right, in time for my kids, but it ticks me off that you get such a struggle and you get such a fight at school when your kids aren't there. And whether they're legitimately sick because other kids made them sick, or they have health things like Joss's anxiety, 10 out of 10 gives her these whopping headaches, or whether I want to take my kids out of school to go look at the was going to say GD Liberty Bell. That doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean. To look at the Liberty Bell or the battlefield in Concord or something like that, then I feel like if I excuse that absence and my kids are getting A's, I don't even want to hear it from the school. I don't want a nasty gram coming in the mail. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be, I've been writing letters to the principal and I'm just like, you know what? If we can't figure out a way for you to respect when I say as the parent that she's not going to school today and her grades remain super high and she's special and gifted and nothing is going wrong academically for her, but you want to be a stickler about days off at school, I get it, but we're not doing that. So at that point, we're looking at homeschooling, which would be hard on me, right, because of the way things are busy. But if it comes to it, I'll just do that. I'm not fighting with people anymore. I'm too damn old to be fighting with people about my kids. I didn't have these kids in my 40s to let someone else raise them and to be like scared of getting another nasty gram every time I decide that I'm stopping, that they can have a day out of school because it's always for a good reason. They gave me a hard time when I took the kids out of school for the Halloween party, and I wanted them at that Halloween party. People, some people in this thread have watched my kids grow up, right, and are coming from Texas, Canada, different places for the yearly Halloween party. I wanted them there. Joss gave out the swag bags. Teddy put up the display. He took people's rugs. He hung everything up. He dismantled everything. They helped me, and I wanted them there. Not having fights with the school about stuff like that. I will just take them out and do it myself. You can imagine how much fun it is to talk to me during these meetings. But if we don't advocate for our own kids, who the hell is going to do it, really? That's my last swear for the day. I had fun looking at Rug Kicking Magazine. It took me out of that conversation, which was really getting me this morning. But beautiful issue. And well done, Caitlin, and everybody who submitted to this issue. Don't forget that tomorrow is our time to talk about Magpie Times at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is a Zoom, and you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want it on. Obviously, I'll have my camera on. But yeah, log on for company, log on to Brainstorm. I might say something that you think, oh, you're looking for someone that does like mending. I know somebody who does mending. Maybe you want to get in touch with them. You never know how you might be able to help. I'm going to get this in case it's the principal. I will see you next time.